Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai expresses worry over rising insecurity, confirms presence of Ansaru terrorists in Kaduna, also receives first quarter security report on 360 persons said to have been killed. Defense Headquarters gives update on the war against terror, says over 50,000 terrorists surrendered to the military in the last 4 months. And President Muhammadu Buhari arrives the United Arab Emirates on condolence visit to meet with the new president, Sheikh Mohammed bin Al Nahyan.
On business news tonight, 83 million poor Nigerians to enjoy coverage as President Muhammadu Buhari signs the recently passed National Health Insurance Authority bill into law.
On sports news tonight, for the first time in the history of Men's World Cup, FIFA selects women to officiate matches in Qatar this year.
And from the nation's capital, former President Olusegun Obasanjo identifies lack of passion, vision and knowledge as the bane of Nigeria's underdevelopment, urges Nigerians to recommit themselves to the tenets of nation building.
And in international news from London, the wife of a 62-year-old Ukrainian citizen shot dead in the early days of the conflict has confronted the Russian soldier who shot him.
It's no longer a situation imagined, as it's now clear that there's a huge security challenge in Kaduna State. Governor Nasir El-Rufai today told the nation that Boko Haram, Ansaro and ISWAP terrorists have infiltrated some local government areas of the state and are causing havoc. He was speaking while receiving the 2022 first quarter security report, where hundreds are reported to have been killed and thousands kidnapped by terrorists.
360 persons have been killed by terrorists in the first quarter of 2022 in Kaduna State, according to the state government, a figure that has alarmed the authorities. That casualty number is besides the over 1,300 persons that were kidnapped under the period, which is why Governor Nasir El-Rufai is meeting everyone within the hierarchy of leadership here at the government house as it reveals a disturbing development that drives terrorism.
The first great concern is the emergence of Boko Haram terrorist enclave, as well as the activities of Ansaru, particularly in Birnin Gwari and Chikun local governments. Amongst those kidnapped from the train, Abuja-Kaduna train, was a former roommate and classmate of mine. Throughout the period that he was in captivity, it was very clear that the terrorists were making comments like the forests in Kaduna are even better than Sambisa, so they should all relocate here. I think this is an area we should be very concerned about, and this is why we've been making the point that the problem of insecurity now has moved from the northeast to the northwest.
With terrorists now making major inroads into the northwest, the state governor also raises concern over a possible threat to the 2023 election if nothing is done.
If we don't improve the levels of security in some of our local governments like Birnin Gwari, Chikun, Giwa and Igabi, it may not even be possible to hold elections in those local governments. And if we cannot have elections in 4 to 6 local governments, I wonder whether it will be possible to have elections at all in Kaduna State.
With this revelation by the Kaduna State government, arguably nothing is of greater priority at the moment beyond ensuring the security of lives and property, as about 60 people are still being held captive by terrorists from the March 28 Abuja-Kaduna train attack in Chikun local government area of the state.
Meanwhile, it's not all gloom, as the Defense Headquarters has announced that troops of Operation Hiding Kai within the last 3 weeks killed a Boko Haram terrorist commander in Sambisa Forest, Abubakar Serki, and 41 others. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Bernard Onyoko, says over 50,000 terrorists have so far surrendered as at May the 16th this year, while 63 civilians were rescued.
It is the regular update on activities of the armed forces of Nigeria and other security agencies in the fight against insurgency between the 28th of April and the 19th of May 2022. The Director of Defense Media Operations reels out the successes recorded against Boko Haram terrorists and other criminal elements in the various theater of operations.
Troops also conducted operations at Dajima, Molai, Mamanchi, Ajiri, Amagave, Marginal Village, and others. Others are Dombua Town, Buluti Village, Njine, Kamzune Village, Banua, all in Borno State. Furthermore, of 1st to 14th May 2022, a total of 1,627 Boko Haram terrorists and their families surrendered to own troops at different locations within the theater. They comprise of 331 men, 441 women, and 855 children. As at 16th May 2022, a total of 53,262 Boko Haram elements and their families have so far surrendered.
According to the Defense Headquarters, 20 suspected terrorists were arrested, leading to the rescue of some civilians.
Consequently, of these operations, troops have rescued 63 civilians, neutralized 42 terrorists, arrested 20 terrorists. They also recovered some arms, which include 2 MGs, 21 AK-47 rifles, 11 AK-56 rifles, 22 machine guns, 419 rounds of 7.62 millimeter and 54 millimeter ammunitions, 1 gun turret, 31 AK-47 magazines, some motorcycles, bicycles, pumping machines, among other items of interest. Also, an Isuzu vehicle was recovered from them. All surrendered Boko Haram terrorists, recovered items, rescued civilians, and captured terrorists have been handed over to appropriate authorities for further action.
As the fight against insurgency continues, the military high command applauds Nigerians for the continued cooperation with the armed forces, the Nigeria police, and other security agencies in their fight against all forms of criminalities in the country.
In the meantime, an approval has been given by the police for the deployment of air components to parts of the north central and northwest of Nigeria to check the activities of bandits involved in various kidnapping incidents in the region. The Minister of Police Affairs, Mr. Mohammed Dingyadi, announced this today during the weekly ministerial briefing at the State House in Abuja. He also gave clarification on the recent promotion of the former chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Ibrahim Magu, despite his retirement. Our State House correspondent, Kayla Megwa, tells us more.
The weekly ministerial briefing at the State House in Abuja gives heads of ministries, departments and agencies a chance to showcase their achievements, highlight their challenges, and respond to questions regarding the ways they run their public office. This time, it is the turn of the Minister of Police Affairs, Mohammed Dingyadi, and he updates on plans to check banditry in the northwest and north central parts of the country.
In the short term, the Nigerian police air component has been deployed to monitor major terrain in affected areas, conduct reconnaissance and offensive on criminal enclaves within the corridor.
The Police Service Commission on Monday approved the promotion of the former EFCC boss, Ibrahim Magu, just when his retirement from the Nigerian police force was due, having clocked the age of 60 on May the 5th, 2022. Magu had been investigated by a presidential panel headed by Justice Ayo Salami, which has since submitted its report in which it recommended the retirement of Mr. Magu in 2020. The minister affirmed that Ibrahim Magu has already retired, noting that being retired will not preclude him from any disciplinary measures should the need arise.
The fact that he was promoted is a matter for the Police Service Commission to maybe throw more light on. And I'm not aware of the position of government on the report you are talking about, and I think it is still being under consideration. And it doesn't mean that when he retires, the laws will not catch up with him whenever he is found guilty of one thing or the other.
The minister also states that some schools in Nigeria who expressly demanded tighter security have been selected for extra security surveillance by the police force.
Government has delegated this responsibility to state governments to organize, to select schools that they think they require this security. And I think many states have endeavored to do that. And wherever there is need for police security in schools, the police are there assisting other security agencies to ensure peace for our children and for the staff of these institutions.
There is good news for policemen across Nigeria as the minister reveals plans for a new salary scale. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
Still in security, 7 suspected members of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, have been arrested by the police over the killing of Felicia Wagbara in Imo State. A statement by the police says the victim, who was a police inspector, was declared missing back in 2017. The 5 suspects were arrested when officers raided their IPOB camp in Oguta local government area, and some weapons were recovered from them, including a car, 8 locally made pistols, 18 rounds of live cartridges, and a pair of police uniform belonging to the victim. Here in Lagos, the police today dislodged some commercial motorcyclists threatening the peace of the metropolis in the Iyanojo axis of Lagos State. A detachment of policemen were immediately sent to the area, and that resulted into a clash with the operatives. This is coming after the total ban on Okada riders by the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Earlier today, the police also clamped down on people believed to be contravening the laws in the Alaba axis of the state.
From the 1st of June, please, we want all
24 hours after the order by the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu to security operatives to enforce a ban on commercial motorcycles in 6 local government areas of the state.
That we're going to be embarking on.
The riders are responding with protests in the Ojo area of Lagos. Many road users are left stranded as police disperse protesters scampering for safety. Shortly after, the commander in the area cleared the highway for road users. 2 kilometers away is Alabarago, another densely populated market with poor environmental sanitation. It's been months of engagement between the Lagos State government through its joint enforcement agencies and occupants of markets over remodeling.
So please, when we are coming, it's for the good of everybody. Cooperate with us.
The team is here to serve a 14-day notice on them to vacate the market.
It's not a matter of fight, it's not a matter of, this has no background, no coloration at all. It's just that they want to modernize this place, and the state governor has assured them that this project is for them. It's for their own betterment and the betterment of this. Yes.
Besides environmental issues, about 20 arms were recently recovered from the market.
4,000 wraps of Indian hemp cannabis Arizona allowed left this Alabarago, were intercepted by our men at Maitudia en route to Akala in Mushi. That's number one. Recently again, not like last week, the DPO Ojo came here, raided this place, nothing less than 20 pistols were recovered. This is well known to Nigerians, to all Lagosians, and that's why I've been directed to follow the chairman task force. So at the crime aspect, we have to sanitize this place completely.
With notices already served, all that's left is for thousands of traders in the markets to relocate before the D-Day or be ready to face the wrath of the law. As the enforcement team say, there is no going back on the order.
In part 2 after the break, Supreme Court joins River State government in the Electoral Act suit instituted by President Muhammadu Buhari. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the News at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai raises alarm over the influx of Ansaru terrorists in Kaduna. Defense Headquarters gives update on the war against terror, says over 50,000 terrorists surrendered to the military in the last 5 months. President Muhammadu Buhari arrives the United Arab Emirates on condolence visit to meet with the new president, Sheikh Mohammed bin Al Nahyan. Mrs. Grace Imo is the widow of the victim of last week's murder in the Lekki area of Lagos. David Imo was killed after an argument with some motorcyclists. His wife, Grace, is now demanding justice over the murder of her husband, a sound engineer.
This is Admiralty Way, a heavy traffic bypass in Lekki Phase 1 area of Lagos. The area is devoid of commercial motorcycle riders, days after task force operations over the non-compliance with laws and restriction on unauthorized routes. Disaster struck Thursday night when a disagreement over 100 naira change led to the murder of a sound engineer, David Imo, while his colleagues Francis Olatimiji and Philip Balogun are hospitalized from injuries sustained from the mob attack. Overwhelmed by the situation and unsure about what the future holds for her and her two children, David's widow, Grace Imo, narrates how her husband of 9 years was snatched away on the verge of actualizing their dreams together.
My children are little. I need help for them. I need welfare. This is their father who is taking away from them. I need justice for the death of my husband. Don't let it go under the carpet.
Condemning the act, the chairman of the Lekki Residents Association charges all to maintain calm and allow the police to unravel those behind the gruesome murder. The Lagos State Police spokesman also assures that at the conclusion of investigations, justice will be served.
I'd like to point out that this incident was not perpetrated by the Okada alone. The main actors that started the lynching and burning are the street boys. Street boys and Okada that are terrorizing us in Lekki.
Whenever you have a grievance with anybody, walk up to the nearest police station or any security agency around. Jungle justice is not the way to go. And to ensure that we drive this point home, this particular set of people that have been arrested and those that will still be arrested, because we have actually started a manhunt for the rest of the suspects who have been identified, by the way. We don't give ethnic coloration to crime.
For now, the area is calm. What residents will consider solution is restriction of operations of the commercial motorcycle riders from the area to avoid a reoccurrence.
To legal matters, the Supreme Court today joined the Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly and Attorney General of Rivers State in the suit filed by President Muhammadu Buhari and the Attorney General of the Federation seeking legal interpretation to Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022. The section bars serving political appointees from taking part in a congress or convention of any political party, either as delegates or aspirants. The Apex Court granted the motion of joinder urging all parties to regularize processes in the suit on or before May the 24th this year.
The suit filed by President Muhammadu Buhari and the Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Abubakar Malami, seeking legal interpretation of Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022 as amended at the Supreme Court, just got interesting, as the Rivers State government has joined as an interested party. The suit was filed few days after the Court of Appeal Abuja set aside the judgment of the Federal High Court in Umuahia, the Abia State capital, which ruled in March that the contentious section is at variance with the Constitution. In a notice of appeal before the Apex Court, the President and the AGF want to know if the section does not amount to imposing additional grounds of qualification and disqualification for aspirants, in contradiction to what is provided for in some sections of the 1999 Constitution as amended. The appellants are also challenging the legislative powers of the National Assembly to enact the contentious section without a prior amendment to the constitutional provisions on qualification. At the day's proceedings at the Apex Court, counsel to President Muhammadu Buhari conceded to the application for joinder filed by the Rivers State Council, Mr. Emmanuel Okala, though he initially opposed the application on grounds that he was just served before the court sit-in.
That's my discretion, and I've exercised it. To me, the matter is urgent, and since we were not allowed to reply orally, I had to make a choice, however hard or difficult. So that was what I did.
The Apex Court therefore granted the motion of joinder, urging all parties to regularize processes in the suit on or before May 24, 2022.
The matter is before the Supreme Court, and we are to come back on Thursday. And I think the best thing is to wait till Thursday, when we will see what the by-law laws will decide.
The presiding judge, Justice Mohammed Datijo, subsequently adjourned to May 26 for hearing.
Well, the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, has been reacting to an FCT High Court judgment that ordered the tenure extension for officials of the Federal Capital Territory Area Council by 1 year. The party describes it as a ploy by the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, to rob the PDP of its victory at the February polls. The outgoing chairman and councillors in the FCT are originally scheduled to leave office by tomorrow.
Today, Thursday, May 19, 2022, the People's Democratic Party has just been made aware of a bizarre judgment by Honorable Justice Ibrahim Mohammed, wherein he attempted to extend by 1 year the tenure of the outgoing chairman and councillors of the FCT area councils. The PDP vehemently and without equivocation rejects the judgment in its entirety. This judgment cannot be executed as it is unconstitutional, illegal, baseless, and devoid of any legal foundation and reasoning for implementation.
Still talking politics, some members of the All Progressives Congress in Kaduna State are asking the leadership of the party to reconsider the consensus arrangement of getting delegates for the state. Now, the members, including a former deputy governor in the state, criticized the consensus option, saying it's not democratic. But the state party publicity secretary defends the party's position, maintaining that it aligns with the APC constitution.
All may seem calm out here at the Lawal Tafida House, the APC secretariat in Kaduna State. But inside the hall, all is not well. These party men and women are unhappy with goings-on within the party in the state. Chief among their worry is why the party is yet to conduct delegate elections days to the party's presidential primary.
There was no election in the whole of Zone 1 because our delegates, our supporters, went to the ward offices preparatory for the congresses. And the offices were empty. There was nobody there. There were neither party officials nor any of the relevant stakeholders that supervised to ensure good election. That turn up, nobody was there.
They also frown at the consensus arrangement by some leaders of the party.
And in Zone 2 and Zone 3, some sham was done, whereby people sat down and said they had done consensus. In the first place, I'm not a consensus person because consensus is the euphemism for armed robbery. How do you do consensus?
But the leadership of the party is countering their position, referring them to consult the party constitution for guidance.
We have sit here unanimously based on our meeting with the SEC. We have agreed to conduct our delegate election through consensus, which has been provided in Article 20. If you go to Article 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there are some Roman figures there, you will see all the procedures for electing or selecting leaders in the party. So maybe they have missed all these compositions and the powers.
Going by the party's election guidelines, 5 delegates are to be elected from each of the 255 electoral wards in the state, plus over 200 statutory delegates for the governorship primary. And these party faithful insist that the spirit of the party's election guideline be followed to the letter in the interest of equity, justice, and fairness.
Let's head to the nation's capital now, where Terry Kumi is standing by from our studio in Abuja. Terry Kumi, over to you.
Well, hello, Ayo. Nice to see you again. President Muhammadu Buhari, who departed the country today, has arrived to the United Arab Emirates. He is on a condolence visit to His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan to commiserate with him on the passing of the former president and ruler of Abu Dhabi, His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan. Our correspondent Gloria Omezoke reports.
At the Abu Dhabi Presidential Airport, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari arrives for a condolence and congratulatory visit to the new President of the United Arab Emirates, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. The President and his delegation is welcomed by the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Sheikh Shakbut Nahyan Al Nahyan. Elected by the Federal Supreme Council on May 14, former Crown Prince emerged as the UAE president after the passing of his elder brother, Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan in May. In 2015, President Buhari has strategically strengthened commercial ties between Nigeria and the Arab nation.
Between themselves, they have been able to bring together, our two countries into signing a number of memoranda of understanding and agreements. 9 so far, 8 are in view, very soon will be signed. Before this time, Nigeria never had any MOU or agreement with United Arab Emirates.
The presidential spokesperson highlights the president's key activities during his visit.
The president would have a review meeting in the morning with the officials on the delegation, and thereafter he would, perform the Friday service, the Jum'at. His engagement with the new ruler, with the president, is much later in the afternoon.
The last few days, an array of world leaders have descended on Abu Dhabi in honor of the late Sheikh Khalifa amidst a 40-day period of mourning. Across the cities, national flags can be seen flown at half-mast, indicative of a huge sense of loyalty and admiration for the former president who passed on at the age of 73. From Abu Dhabi, Gloria Umezoke, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, 83 million poor Nigerians to enjoy coverage as President Buhari signs the recently passed National Health Insurance Authority Bill 2022 into law. To stay with us. Welcome back to the news at 10. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo is not mincing words as he tells his guest, a presidential hopeful on the platform of the PDP, Mohammed Hayatuddin, that what Nigeria needs at this stage of its development is someone with, quote, mad passion to drive Nigeria into success. He says anyone running for the office of the president, knowing that he will not be able to end Nigeria's security challenge, should forget about it. He was speaking in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, today when he received the PDP presidential hopeful.
I was telling some people this morning that passion means madness. That you are mad about Nigeria. I am. And I have no apologies for that. Because I have no other country I can call my own. And I have no other country I can go to and say, yes, I have come to live here. And passion means having been mad about Nigeria, having a touch of madness. And I look at you and say, yes, you are mad. We have to innovate. We have to re-strategize. And you talk about security. And people ask me about it. I said, I know that we can put all insecurity in Nigeria behind us within a space of 2 years. And I said that.
Yes, sir.
That we haven't done that and that we are still in the situation we are in is a choice that has been made by our leaders. Not the way God wants us to be.
Now, no doubt, picking up the presidential ticket of the People's Democratic Party will require a huge demonstration of quality and perhaps experience. And of course, those contesting for the position are aware of this, as they are not sitting back in their comfort zones. Governors Udom Emmanuel, Nyesom Wike, as well as Aminu Tambuwal are meeting with delegates in different geopolitical zones of the country. Also in the contest is former Senate President Bukola Saraki, who was in Gombe State to meet with delegates.
It's a race against time for presidential hopefuls under the People's Democratic Party as they crisscross the country to ensure they cover more grounds, meeting delegates ahead of the presidential primary. Governor of Akwa Ibom State and presidential aspirant Udom Emmanuel headed north to seek the support of Niger State PDP delegates, where he asked them to rise above sentiment and vote for him.
Why Nigerians love me is because what Nigeria needs, I'm already providing it now at the subnational. So all Nigeria needs now, I have a solution to it. So they will put me so that I can replicate what I do under the subnational in the national. And Nigeria will be a better place, that's all.
Away from Niger to Oyo State, where Governor Nyesom Wike has continued his quest to rally support for his ambition to clinch the PDP's ticket, Governor Wike promised the delegates that he will restore the country's lost glory if elected, while expressing optimism.
Whether it is in the north, in the west, in the east, or in the south, the support is so overwhelming that you can imagine. I'm sure you are pressmen, you go around, you have your contacts, you can as well do that. It's like, just let us be that day and then let them formally announce me as the candidate of the party.
Once you create jobs. And heading back north, where another PDP presidential hopeful and former Senate President Bukola Saraki is consulting with Gombe delegates over his ambition to lead Nigeria. Senator Bukola says his focus is to fix education and create employment.
I think the most important thing, first of all, is that we must understand the issue of unemployment is high and the issue of education. These two things. We talk about primary school education as compulsory, but in reality, is it really compulsory? In some places, people still are not able to. It's even more expensive sometimes and cheaper in university. I will make primary education mandatory and compulsory and ensure it's enforced.
And in continuation of his consultations, Governor Aminu Tambuwal visits Lagos to seek the support of the PDP delegates and the leaders in the state. He maintains that if elected, he will lead from the front.
I'm not just coming to the public space. I've been around for some time, and my conduct is known to the public. My character is known to the public. And even the way the government of Sokoto State has been managing that situation should show some direction as to my character and the way I'll provide leadership of this country.
The coming days will be interesting as they head to the presidential primary, where the buck stops with the delegates.
Well, still talking politics this time, the APC presidential aspirant, Rotimi Amaechi, has promised to further deregulate the power sector in order to allow states to also transmit electricity if voted in as the next president of Nigeria in 2023. According to him, this in essence will allow states that are capable of the opportunity to boost power supply in the consumers in power supply that they consume in their states. Honorable Amaechi dropped this hint while addressing delegates during his visit to Kano State to consult with party delegates as the party's primaries approach.
Kano State is the latest port of call for presidential hopeful Chibike Amaechi in his ongoing meeting with APC delegates to solicit for their support and votes in the upcoming presidential primary election. The Kano visit begins with a courtesy call on Governor Abdullahi Ganduje at the government house, where Mr. Amaechi appeals to the governor for his support.
One thing I promise this country is that if I become the president of this country, we'll amend the law that leaves distribution as the exclusive preserve of the federal government. Because there are so many states, like Kano, people can buy your own. I'm sure that Kano may not have up to 400 megawatts requirement of power. You can, and if you do that and distribute it, power, the regular power supply in Kano, and Kano will develop at the speed at which it is supposed to develop.
Another issue that is in your favor.
On his part, Governor Ganduje appreciates the former Minister of Transportation for the rail and dry ports projects he initiated in Kano State, praying for his success in his bid to become Nigeria's president.
We are building the biggest railway station in Nigeria, building it in Kano. Work is going on, and I believe this will transform the socio-economic development of our city and of our state.
Your Excellency.
The man of the moment speaks to the gathering on how much commitment he has given to the Kano-Lagos Rail project as he appeals to delegates to vote for him because of his love for the state.
Don't vote for me because I'm from the north. Don't vote for me because I'm from the south. Don't vote for me because I'm from the west. Don't vote for me because I'm from the east. Vote for me because I have the capacity.
Kano has one of the largest number of delegates, which makes it vital for the presidential aspirants to secure their block votes.
Well, that's all from the nation's capital. Back to you, Ayo.
Many thanks, Terry. Disruption is a factor that must be accepted as a new normal in business. This formed part of the submissions of the speakers at the first international conference of the University of Lagos Business School, ULBS, which held in Lagos. Our correspondent, Olumide Macaulay, reports that the conference focuses on innovation, entrepreneurship, and business management.
One cannot tell just by looking at this facility what sort of conference is built to hold here. But a room full of leaders, academia, experts and thinkers later, and you have the first international conference of University of Lagos Business School, ULBS. Professor Patu Tommy, a man no stranger to public speaking, begins his keynote address.
Our country is challenged, as we all know. We know that in the last couple of years, there have been emblems raised around the underachievement of our country.
He mentions the role of competition.
The biggest dangers to capitalist progress are today's successful capitalists. The business of business is to destroy today's successful ones by producing something superior to what they produce.
And two things have been learned by me today.
And after a journal highlight, the University of Lagos Business School Business and Management Review is unveiled. Before long, the plenary session ensues, as the human cost of disruptive times entitles the speech of the chairman, the Chair Center Group, Mrs. Ibukwa Wushika.
How do I navigate this? Because there are always options 1, 2, 3, 4. Are you going to shut down and give up on the business? That's really never the option.
Other speakers at the conference include leaders of thought and financial technocrats.
As a business leader, we must understand the science of time. Strong research and development units can help us, like you are doing, ULBS. Carry out scenario planning and analysis from time to time. This will help, especially in positioning for socio-economic and regulatory changes.
ULBS and similar executive education business schools should be intentional on practical idea development and showcase MBA for your MBA and all your students. This should lead to creating new businesses and graduating entrepreneur managers, not managers who are going, not people who are going to be just managers to manage businesses, but people who are going to be entrepreneurs.
As this session of the conference by University of Lagos Business School comes to an end, there's an air that the widespread influence of this institution is just beginning. Olumide Macaulay, Channels Television News.
Business News is up next, and Anne Waldo is standing by. Over to you, Anne.
Thank you, Ayo. Hello and welcome to Business News. President Muhammadu Buhari has signed a law that will make health insurance mandatory for all Nigerians. A statement from the presidency says the National Health Insurance Authority Bill 2022, which has just been signed into law, repeals the National Health Insurance Act 2004. It will ensure coverage of 83 million poor Nigerians who cannot afford to pay premiums. The African Development Bank, AFDB, and the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, have agreed to partner on many areas of diaspora development in Africa. This was made known at the meeting between the Chairman CEO of NIDCOM, Abike Dabiri Erewa, and the Director General, Nigeria Country Office of the AFDB, Lamin Barrow, in Abuja. While briefing the AFDB Country Director about the activities of NIDCOM, Mrs. Abike also explained that Nigeria has recorded the highest remittance in the sub-Saharan region again this year, and that's according to the latest World Bank report. We head to the domestic market now, where local stock market bounced back from the 3 consecutive days of downturn, also following investors' bargain hunting of some high-valued stocks. Ini John Mekwa tells us more.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the Stock Market Reports. That's right, drum rolls, and the bull makes a major comeback today. The NGX locks its first positive close after 3 negative sessions. This is the first for the week. And we have telco giant MTN Nigeria to thank for this market turnaround. Its share price became 14 naira 50 kobo more attractive to close today at 217 naira. Imagine gaining 14 naira 50 kobo in just one trade. That's what happens at the NGX sometimes. So all the big names are from the Tier 1 banks such as Access Holdings, FBN Holdings, and UBA. They contributed to the market's overall performance today. However, oil giants Conoil, Owendo, and Seplat Energy hit the basement in today's session. Seplat stock has so far had a choppy movement in the market this week. It lost 20 kobo from its share price. And this begs the question, are investors reacting to the change in the management? Well, we can only put some things together and ask this question. Well, the NGX index was up over 1% as 299 billion naira was added to the market value. Investors are definitely dancing into Friday, and we do hope that that dance sustains into the weekend. That's the Stock Market Report. I'm Ini John Mekwa.
And that's Business News for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Ayo.
Thank you so much, Anne. The war in Ukraine is taking its toll on families, especially women. A widow whose husband was allegedly killed by a Russian soldier appears difficult to be consoled. Simon Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The wife of a 62-year-old Ukrainian civilian shot dead in the first days of the invasion has confronted the Russian soldier who killed him. Katerina Shelepova stood up in court and asked the 21-year-old what he had felt when he killed her husband Alexander, and did he repent his crime. The soldier replied that he admitted his guilt and asked for her forgiveness. Shishimarin claims that he hadn't wanted to fire the fatal shots and that he was following orders. The trial has huge symbolic importance for Kyiv. It is the first case in a list of war crimes that could reach thousands. The group of G7 nations has met in Germany to discuss further financial support for Ukraine. After the traditional family photo, where many of the world's finance ministers pose for a group picture, the gathering then held talks to try and stop the world economy deteriorating further. The group of 7 financial leaders are meeting as the war in Ukraine adds fuel to a surge in the cost of raw materials, while new pandemic-related restrictions in China have slowed down global trade, raising the spectre of a sustained period of high inflation and economic stagnation. Meanwhile, the German Chancellor has said the European Union must make preparations for rebuilding Ukraine after the war by setting up a solidarity fund.
Einem brutal angegriffenen Land.
Addressing Parliament, Olaf Scholz said rebuilding destroyed infrastructure and revitalizing the Ukrainian economy will cost billions. He encouraged EU countries to start laying the ground for a solidarity fund financed by contributions from the EU and its partners. The Prime Minister of Egypt has announced the country has 4 months' worth of wheat in strategic reserve. Mostafa Madbouli said shipping costs would be increased dramatically if Ukraine transported part of 4 contracted shipments to Poland by train. Ukraine and Russia have traditionally met 80% of the world's largest wheat importers' needs, but not since Russia invaded its neighbour last February. The government has therefore made it compulsory for Egyptian farmers to sell their wheat to it. According to a new report, 5 million people have been internally displaced in Ethiopia, the highest number of such people registered in a single country. The annual report by the Internal Displacement Monitoring Centre also cites the Democratic Republic of Congo, Afghanistan and Myanmar as having seen their highest number of internally displaced people since in 2021. It comes as a record 59 million people globally were recorded as being internally displaced by the end of last year due to protracted conflicts and new waves of violence. That's an increase of over 4 million globally from a year earlier. Women have protested in Mexico City, marching to demand justice for victims of violence and femicide. Relatives of femicide victims, gender violence survivors, have held up crucifixes and banners showing photographs of disappeared or killed women outside the National Palace in the historic city centre. The disappearances and femicides are part of a broader crisis of violence in Mexico, where annual homicides top 30,000. Since 2006, when the Mexican government declared a war on drug cartels, sparking a surge in violence, more than 85,000 people have disappeared. The Salvadorian Navy has presented a video showcasing a seized shipment of 810 kilograms of cocaine in El Salvador. Authorities cited the low-profile vessel off the Salvadorian coast. El Salvador's security cabinet said the 810-kilogram cocaine shipment found in the semi-submersible have a value of $2.25 million and was possibly destined for the south coast of Mexico. In a change of tone, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has addressed Ukrainians in a video message to wish them health on the day of the traditional embroidered shirt. Still photographs taken in Lviv show women dancing and people wearing the Vyshyvanka. Vyshyvanka Day was established in 2006 and is celebrated on the third Thursday in May around the country's traditional embroidered shirts. In the video message, Zelensky said, "I wish you health, strong, unbreakable, brave and free. Happy Vyshyvanka Day, Ukraine." And finally, a 27-year-old woman has become South Africa's first black hot air balloon pilot and one of just a few female pilots in the field. Mathebula found her way into ballooning after struggling to find employment. She eventually worked as a marketing assistant at a hot air balloon tour company. She said she is keen to be an ambassador for the sport and hopes to bring in more youth and diversity. She will compete for the first time in the South African Hot Air Balloon Championships in June. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. Now, Everton staged a dramatic fight back from 2 goals down to preserve their English Premier League status with a 3-2 win against Crystal Palace, while Burnley climbed out of the relegation zone after a 1-1 draw at Aston Villa in tonight's games. Frank Lampard's side recovered from conceding twice in the first half as Michael Keane and Richarlison netted after the break before Dominic Calvert-Lewin's late winner sparked wild celebrations at Goodison Park. At Villa Park, Burnley's Maxwell Cornet won a penalty on the stroke of half-time when he was bundled over by Emiliano Buendia. Marcus Alonso ensured that the points were shared after his equalizing volley meant that Chelsea drew 1-1 with Leicester City at Stamford Bridge. The World Football Governing Body FIFA has selected women referees to officiate matches at the Men's World Cup for the first time in Qatar this year. 3 women referees and 3 women assistant referees will be part of the global showpiece, which will be held from November the 21st through December the 18th. Referees Stephanie Frappard from France, Salima Mukasanga from Rwanda, and Japan's Yoshimi Yamashita, as well as assistant referees Noiza Bag from Brazil, Karen Diaz Medina from Mexico, and American Catherine Nesbitt have all been called up. A total of 36 referees, 69 assistant referees, and 24 video match officials have been chosen by FIFA for the tournament. And Nigeria's under-17 girls, the Flamingos, earlier today had a feel of the Abebe Bikila Stadium turf in Addis Ababa ahead of tomorrow's FIFA Under-17's Women's World Cup qualifying clash against Ethiopia. The girls have been impressive so far, scoring 14 goals and are yet to concede any. Head coach Bankole Oluokere says he expects a tough game against the Ethiopians. He is, however, confident the girls will record a massive scoreline in the game. We can't wait to see what upset will come from that tournament, but that's a wrap on Sports News. I'm Victor Matthias. Thank you for watching. It's back to Ayatunde with the wrap of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Victor. And the main news again. Governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, today revealed that the state is in grave danger as Ansaro and Boko Haram terrorists have infiltrated the state, wreaking havoc on residents of the state. He then called on security operatives to urgently address the situation. Also today, President Muhammadu Buhari arrived at the United Arab Emirates on a condolence visit to His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan on the passing of the former president and ruler of Abu Dhabi, His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan. That's the news at 10. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Have a wonderful evening.